Welcome to The Explainer. We're jumping right in today because we're tearing down the old world. Literally. We're diving deep into the radical, mind-bending shift known as the ink blot sovereignty. I'll be your guide through this mythic transition from a completely dead, rigid order into a new reality that's just bursting with creative chaos. And hey, as we go through this, I want you to really put yourself in the center of the story because you're not just watching, you are the last thinker. This is your awakening. You know that feeling? That terrifying itch of a dream right at the back of your mind? Yeah, you felt it. You look around, and it's super obvious that the stagnant piece of the old world is just fading. The great sun, that shared myth that used to dictate what everyone thought and how they lived, it's completely set. What's left? Just a perpetual, cold twilight. It's kind of unsettling, for sure, but honestly, it's also the beginning of everything. So, let's start with part one. The architecture of stasis, also known as the Pale Inquisitor's realm. To really wrap our heads around this architecture of stasis, I want you to picture a completely colorless, gridlocked spreadsheet. Or better yet, imagine a massive, windowless corporate cubicle farm where absolutely nothing new can ever possibly grow. Just pure, unyielding, suffocating structure. But here's the thing about a reality built entirely on stagnant peace. It's totally doomed to fail. It's exactly like rigid, collapsing buildings that just can't hold their own weight anymore. Now, in this old world, the people around you, we call them the sleepers or the last men, they were completely trapped, stuck behind these glass walls of fake security, totally pacified by a meaningless cage of slogans. They basically traded all their vitality for just a tiny bit of comfort, constantly watched over by the Pale Inquisitor. But you always knew this sterile safety was just a prison, didn't you? And that brings us to a really crucial idea. The architect of Inkblot looks at that perfectly ordered spreadsheet reality and sees a hideous anomaly. To the architect, absolute sterile order is literally an offense to the natural volatility of existence. As they put it, a perfect line invites a strike, meaning that pristine order absolutely has to be ruined by a beautiful, unpredictable stain. Which leads us perfectly into section 2, the spill. This is the catalyst of creative chaos. Okay, let's use a really simple analogy to picture the spill. Remember that pristine, gridlocked spreadsheet of the Inquisitor's world we just talked about? Imagine taking a massive cup of hot, dark coffee and just forcefully tipping it right over the whole thing. It looks exactly like stark black ink spreading uncontrollably over a map, relentlessly consuming every single drawn border and boundary in its path. That's the spill, an unstoppable flood of chaos, wiping out all those rigid lines of control.
So, how does this actually go down? It happens in 3 rapid-fire steps. First, the chaotic timeline blot drops right onto the apex of the kingdom's power. Second, this instantly triggers a total, absolute logic collapse across the entire realm. And third, right in the wake of that collapse, these ancient primal forces are unsealed. Just like that, the rules of reality are completely rewritten.
Let's look at what a logic collapse actually does to the physical world, because it's wild. Reality literally begins to exist in multiple moments at once. Take the Pale Inquisitor's own desk, for example. In the exact moment of the spill, his desk is simultaneously quarried stone, standing polished furniture, and decaying rotting wood, all existing right before your very eyes. Linear time and rigid structure just completely fall apart. And this brilliantly illustrates what we call the ultimate stain. It's this insane event where all of the Inquisitor's rigid laws, his rulebooks, his state ledgers, they physically melt into dark ink. It effectively erases every last memory and record of his structured control. The spreadsheet is ruined, guys. The cage of slogans simply washes away. With the logic completely collapsed, the 3 spirit siblings are unsealed, and the world turns wildly poetic. I mean, the marketplace transforms into this totally surreal space. Heavy, valuable gold suddenly holds the literal weight of forgotten dreams. And the guards, their iron weapons, which were meant to violently enforce stasis, instantly turn into delicate peacock feathers. Power, at least as the old world knew it, simply evaporates into art and dream logic. Moving right along to section 3, the authored myth. Settling into a beautiful ruin. Here is the absolute defining philosophy of this new era. The architect declares, the myth is no longer shared, it is authored. What does that mean for you?
It means meaning is no longer this great sun handed down to you by the state or the Inquisitor. It isn't some pre-packaged slogan anymore. It is now a blank, chaotic canvas, and it's meant to be authored entirely by you.
Notice the incredibly stark contrast here. The old reality, that shared myth, was a rigid, sterile cage where everything was decided for you. But this new reality, the authored myth, it exists as a surreal playhouse. It's an unpredictable, iridescent stain on reality that simply refuses to dry. It's fluid, it's shifting, and it's just waiting for your input. Now, to survive, and more importantly, to thrive in this new horizon of chaos, you absolutely must embrace a concept called amor fati. It means loving your fate. It means joyfully and enthusiastically affirming this exact chaos, not hiding from it. You have to look at the spilled ink and recognize it for what it is, the ultimate, limitless canvas for your own creation.
Let's break down the characteristics of this new sovereignty you've suddenly found yourself in. The landscape, it's beautifully ruined. History is no longer some fixed written record. And crucially, this is a big one, there is absolutely no institutional guidance telling you what to believe anymore. None. The only remaining temple worth building here is one forged entirely from your own personal struggle and your own loneliness.
And that brings us to our final part, Section 4, Awake, the Last Thinker, Master of the Narrative.
Just look around at the sleepers, the last men of that old world. As the ink spreads everywhere, they're just paralyzed. They're terrified because their safe little glass walls are completely gone. They feel only a terrifying itch of a dream when confronted with all this chaos, desperately wishing for the Inquisitor to come back and tell them what to do. But you are entirely different.
Because you are the last thinker. You are a figure of pure, volatile potential. You actively refuse those old beacons of the state. While everyone else is panicking at the loss of order, you remain absolutely unbothered by the ultimate stain. You look at that ruined spreadsheet and you don't see a tragedy. You see pure liberation. You recognize the real, profound truth of the inkblot sovereignty. The universe is no longer a clean parchment of state-controlled order. It's a surreal playhouse. And in this playhouse, you are the absolute master of your own narrative. You don't go looking for meaning out in the world anymore. You craft it entirely from your own internal certainty and your own personal symbols. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you, the last thinker, with one final existential question to ponder. The ink has spilled, the glass walls are completely shattered, the shared myth is permanently dead. So, what will you author in the beautiful ruin?